affirmative action to accept the city's share today. This funding will support additional shelter space, services, and actions that need to be taken immediately for this vulnerable population. And I want to assure my state colleagues here that we will not hesitate to put these dollars to good use. The city and our regional partners have signed an agreement to pool these funds happening at the convention center. One effort, all entities working together. This is a historic endeavor accomplished with a level of coordination that, as I mentioned earlier, we've never seen across the spectrum. So before I move on, I do want to thank our partners, our state leaders for doing what they're doing, the County of San Diego, and particularly the Health and Human Service agencies, whose representatives are on site at the convention center every day. The San Diego Housing Commission, the Regional Task Force on the Homeless, the San Diego Convention Center, the entire team out there, the staff, the folks that are cooking the meals out there, their pride in what that building has become is evidence to see on everybody's face. And of course, all of our providers, they're inside providing the help and support that individuals need. And a special shout out to our city employees that are there as well. And employees from Fire Rescue, San Diego Police Department, Parks and Rec, Library, and so many more that are there helping out. The impacts of this global pandemic are indeed significant. But if we can use this moment to end someone's cycle of homelessness, some good will come out of this crisis. And I want to pause before I go to some of the other updates today to let our statewide leaders say a few words. And it's first my honor to welcome our State Senate President, Pro Tem, Tony Atkins, to the mic. Tony?
Thank you. Well, thank you, Mayor Faulconer. I want to say how glad I am to be here with you and with my colleagues from Sacramento, Assemblymember Gonzalez and Assemblymember Gloria. And several weeks ago, when we talked about and unveiled the use of the Convention Center with an incredible partnership of everyone that the mayor has already acknowledged, but certainly the city workforce, the County of San Diego, the Regional Task Force on the Homeless, the Housing Commission, the Convention Center, and all of the service providers for their quick action to pull this together. And I have to say thank you to our houseless neighbors for understanding how important this effort is to bend the curve. And we want to work to continue to bring them in and give them a roof over their head and a place where they can feel safe. Operation Shelter to Home, as the mayor said, is more than a shelter. It's a path to resources and permanent housing. And earlier today I talked to our legislative analyst at the state who said this may give us an opportunity to face some challenges that we haven't been able to tackle before in a different way. And when you see these entities come together like we never have before together, the task force, the city, the county, health providers, we have that opportunity. I had a chance to tour the convention center and the space and to see where the individuals will be able to get healthy meals and to wash their hands, use the restroom in dignity, and shower and do laundry. I think the state's critical and immediate infusion of the $7.1 million towards the effort is one way that we're trying to aggressively combat COVID-19. And I want to thank again all of the partners that made it possible for us to do this. You know, a few weeks ago, the legislature and the governor approved a budget to increase the delivery of life-saving care and protect Californians during the health crisis. The bill provided $500 million in funding, which can be increased in $50 million increments up to a total not to exceed $1 billion. And that funding is going to enable and has enabled items like leasing and activating 2 hospitals, expanding the number of beds, 250 beds at Palomar Hospital, thanks to the partnership with the county in bringing that forward as an option, and 25 more ICU beds that are expected to come online, providing hotel beds for people experiencing homelessness, and helping local efforts to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in our homeless population, and that is the $7 million that the mayor referenced and I reference here. You know, if I can take just a minute to say, I know that these are really challenging times for many Californians, many San Diegans. You're aware, I'm going to mention one thing and then cede my time to my colleagues. You're aware of the demand for unemployment benefits, and it has reached historic levels in California due to the impacts of coronavirus on our state's economy. According to new data from the state's Employment Development Department, or EDD, a total of 878,727 claims were processed during the week ending March 28th. That is a 370% increase over just the week before, when EDD processed about 187,000 claims, and the week ending March 14th, when it was 58,000 claims. This is a massive undertaking, and my colleagues and I are working to ensure that the proper resources, technology, and support are available to you. We know Californians are counting on this support to make ends meet, and I would just say earlier today, in addition to talking to the legislative analyst, I had a chance to talk to our Secretary of Health at the state of California, Secretary Galley, to talk with the Director of the Office of Emergency Services, Mark Garaducci, the Governor's Chief of Staff, and I started the morning talking with the Governor. So I want you to know that not just myself, but my colleagues at the state are busy doing that each and every day. We are on the phone nonstop. This is what remote work looks like. Sweats, maybe not necessarily the hair and the makeup that we would have in a professional setting, but I guarantee you we are working hard every day for you to bring the resources home to San Diego. This is where we live. And as we look out for California and do our part in the country, we are focused on what it means to be a San Diegan and to bring these resources home. And I am just thrilled to have the partners that we have to be able to do this here in San Diego. So thank you for all that you're doing. The San Diegans that are listening and paying very close attention to every bit of information that you can. My office is able to take phone calls. We are there. We are staffing the phones, and we are making sure that information gets where it needs to go to be supportive of you. So thank you. Let's continue to do what we're doing. This is a critical and urgent time, and that critical work and effort will continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Atkins. Thank you, Tony. I want to reiterate what Tony and Senator Atkins just said. We're fortunate to have a team of statewide officials that are working every single day for our benefit here in San Diego, and no time has that been more evident than the partnership that we're seeing now. And with that, I'd like to introduce Assemblymember Lorena Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to first start by reiterating what our President Pro Tem said, and that's that we're here to provide any kind of resource that anyone needs in San Diego. In particular, unemployment insurance. As of today, over 2 million people have applied for unemployment insurance in California, and we know that backup is causing a lot of stress. And so I want to start with that because that's what we get talked to the most about. If people have questions and it's hard to reach EDD during these times, I understand that. They're overwhelmed by the amount of calls and claims being processed. You can always call one of our offices as well, and we'll help with that. Our number is 619-338-8090. Again, 619-338-8090, and we're happy to help walk you through that process to file for unemployment, state disability, paid family leave, let you know where resources are and where you can get help. But that being said, it's finally kind of a bright spot to be here, to know that the state has worked together with the city and the county to ensure that we're doing what seemed kind of impossible a few weeks ago, quite frankly. This time is hard. I'm a working mom, and I understand, like so many of you, what's happening when we're sheltering at home. I'm trying to become a homeschool teacher at the same time as being a legislator, a full-time employee of the state of California, taking care of my family, and trying to shelter at home. But there are so many San Diegans who have no home to shelter at. And so this idea of being able to provide them with somewhere where they can shelter was paramount. I remember a few weeks ago when my husband, County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher, came home and said, we think the convention center would be great. And in my family, when we say you can't do something, we say you're being a little no se puede, unlike Cesar Chavez, which was si se puede. No way, that can't be done, and that's what I told him. But I know he worked with the mayor, and they worked hard to pull that together in order that we can get the unsheltered into a place where they can shelter at home. But what's so special about this project, and why I'm so proud that the state has invested money into it, is that it's a win-win. We have a tourism economy that's been devastated. We have service sector workers who have been devastated by the downturn, who have lost their jobs, so many of them living in South San Diego that I represent. But this project where we're able to invest money and put unsheltered into housing also reemploys so many of those service sector workers at our convention center. It's a win-win when we can keep people into the jobs that they already have enjoyed, when we can keep people on payroll and working, because as we know and as we talked about, as unemployment rules really explode, to be able to give essential workers the opportunity to bring home a paycheck at the convention center at the same time as providing the care and need we need for the unsheltered is amazing. These are the types of win-wins we're going to need throughout this crisis, to provide the empathy and the care and compassion to ensure that everybody's taken care of, but also that those folks who suddenly, from no fault of their own, found themselves with the loss of a job can be reemployed, can once again find themselves bringing home a paycheck. So I am so thrilled to be standing and so grateful for the leadership of our Mayor, Kevin Faulconer, in ensuring that not only are we housing these unsheltered during this time, individuals, people, souls who need that type of help, but we're also providing a paycheck to Unite Here members, Local 30 members who are serving these unsheltered with food, with services at the convention center, security that was at the convention center, janitorial work that was at the convention center, and keeping those folks employed as well. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for bringing us together.
Thank you, Assemblymember. Thank you for your support and your passion. It is so very, very much appreciated by all of us here in San Diego. Next up, I'd like to introduce Assemblymember Todd Gloria. Todd, thank you for your strong support and your leadership as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's good to be here back at City Hall with you and here with my colleagues, our Senate President Pro Tem Tony Atkins and Assembly Member and Appropriations Committee Chair Lorena Gonzalez. This is a quintessential example of our state and local leaders coming together in a time of crisis to solve real problems. And as has been mentioned by our Senate President Pro Tem, on March 16th, the legislature voted to approve $500 million with up to $1 billion total to help with the state's response to COVID-19. As the Assembly's majority whip, it gave me great pleasure to see this vote be taken on a unanimous bipartisan basis. Republicans, Democrats, and Independents all coming together to take decisive action at a time of crisis. We need that to happen more often. I want to thank Governor Newsom for his swift action in actually sending these funds to communities. Just 2 days after our vote, the state, our governor provided this money or designated this money for the city, the county, and our regional task force on the homeless. And then now here we are today where the city council also on a unanimous vote accepted those funds, and you see those dollars being put to work at our city's convention center. That's the kind of speed and purpose that we need to see throughout the response to this crisis, the kind of speed that will help us solve the backlog of claims at our unemployment department, to address the need for testing kits across the state. This is the kind of collaboration that will solve this pandemic and get us back to normal. So I want to thank the mayor, the county, the city of San Diego, the regional task force on the homeless, all of the providers who've all set aside every rule that we know to come together to do something that's really important for our unsheltered neighbors. And make no mistake, these are our neighbors. And I'm grateful to every one of them who's availing themselves of the opportunity to move into Golden Hall and to the convention center to help be a part of the solution that actually ends this pandemic. I want to just point out that this is the kind of thing that we should always be doing. In a city as wealthy as San Diego, and a state as wealthy as California, and a nation as wealthy as ours, we should have no one living unsheltered. And while I would never ever say that anything about this pandemic could ever be anything positive, my fervent hope, indeed my prayer, is that at the back end of this crisis, not only will we have taken our homeless off the street for the period of the emergency, but that we will find them permanent homes in this community so they would not return to our streets. I think that's a worthy goal for us to set for ourselves, and I'm certain that I can speak for our entire state delegation to say that we will do everything that we can to make sure that that goal becomes a reality. I want to just conclude by saying that we as a community have faced crisis before, and when we have, San Diegans have bounded together, and we have overcome those challenges. I want to assure every San Diegan out there who's wondering, yes, we will get through this. Yes, we can, and we will. And when we do, we will be a stronger community for it. I promise you, this will pass. We are all in this together. No one is alone in this fight, not our unsheltered neighbors, not the sheltered San Diegans as well. Let's continue to do the hard work of collaboration, of communication, and making sure that we solve real problems in this crisis. I believe we can, and I know that we will. Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, for your work on this. It was just 2 weeks ago that we walked the convention center in a big empty hall, as Lorena Gonzalez had said. This is an elegant solution to putting San Diegans who would otherwise be out of work, to take San Diegans who would otherwise be sleeping on our streets and our canyons and on our sidewalks and give them a place to live. This is the kind of stuff that we can be proud of as San Diegans. Let's do a whole lot more of it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Assemblymember Gloria. As I mentioned earlier today, we did receive a grim reminder of how important it is that we all continue to do our part and stay at home. April is going to be a critical month in this fight against the virus. So we must continue to remind all of us watching, all of you who are doing a great job, please keep it up. Continue to follow all of the advice and the directives of our public health officials. The directives are there for a reason. Do not leave your home unless it's absolutely necessary. When you go out for essentials, try to make that a quick trip. Making the sacrifices that we're making now is going to help us to prevent the overwhelming of our healthcare system a few weeks from now. As I said, this April is the critical month. So let's continue all of that things you're doing. We can't say it enough. Washing your hands for 20 seconds at a time. Keep up the physical distancing. And if you leave your place, cover your face. With our state leaders here, I also want to provide 2 updates on San Diego's efforts we're doing to help fight the spread of COVID-19. Yesterday, as you know, we called on San Diegans with a medical background to sign up for the California Health Corps. You can find that link on our website, sandiego.gov/coronavirus. And I also want to remind all of our nursing students, former doctors, or anyone with a medical background to help join the cause. Today, I signed a letter to our state formally offering up city property for the expected surge in COVID-19 cases. These 2 efforts really go hand in hand. The more space we have, the more staff we have, the more lives we will save. In addition, yesterday, the city received 10,000 non-medical face coverings for our first responders and our essential city employees. The city's purchasing and contracting team will be distributing them to departments on an as-needed basis. We will also be receiving several shipments of N95 masks for our first responders in the next couple weeks. We will continue to equip all of our first responders with the tools needed to keep them safe, as we have all along in this process. And on the public safety front, we learned today that the only other police officer to test positive has been medically cleared to go back to work. That's good news. He's back on the beat today out in Western Division. So I want to personally welcome him back to duty. And lastly, I'd like to conclude by talking, as I always do, about how San Diegans are stepping up. Today is World Health Day, so I'd like to encourage all San Diegans to thank a medical professional, whether with a phone call, a text, or a tweet. Do whatever you can. They're on the first line of our citywide defense against COVID-19. They go to work for you, so please stay home for them. San Diegans downtown have heard this message very clearly. And for the past few nights, as I think people have seen on social media and others, downtown residents have been acknowledging that our medical community is stepping up every single day. And as what has become a nightly ritual, every evening at 8 p.m., downtown residents are going on their balconies to make noise, flash lights, play music, and cheer as our hospital workers and first responders are coming back from their shifts, and to say thank them for what they are doing. So if you hear a commotion tonight, step outside and make some noise for our doctors, our nurses, and our healthcare professionals who are stepping up for all of us, and we thank them. We will get through this. We will get through this together, and we will do it as one city, united in this effort. With that, I will conclude this portion of the briefing and take any questions from members of the media. We do not have any questions today, so thank you very much. Thank you again to our state legislators, and with that, we will conclude. Thank you.